Hello, and I'm Ricardo Corvey, and welcome to the Rainbow Room International podcast channel. Today marks the last of the origin stories, and there was no way better to finish than with Tara, who is our director at Great Western Road and the newest member of the director team. She took over the franchise and is now flying with her team and has a really unique energy that is going to come jumping out your screen or jumping out your speakers. So, as usual, drive safe if you're driving. Make sure your seatbelt's on, hands on the steering wheel. And if you're watching it at home, just sit back, relax and enjoy. Tara, good morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon or good evening, because we don't want to time it,
Okay.
obviously. So it could be any time of the day when
Good day.
anybody's watching us. So, last of the line. So you kind of know how this is going, and for those that have watched the podcast live, they've seen you on stage at Congress as well. How was it doing it there, like in a small? Because everybody else that was on stage got to do their main podcast first and then do the wee one. So you unique again.
Yes.
Unique again. Getting to do it the other way around. How?
So it's really interesting because observing it after the fact, I actually thought, oh God, that's a pressure doing it live. Mm-hmm. But I think because what we do as hairdressers is live talk all the time, upon reflection of it, I actually felt it was more, I preferred it.
Right.
Possibly upon the plan for coming in and doing the actual podcast, because with anything that you do or say that's live, it's happening in real time and there are people round about you giving you feedback during, whether it be facial expressions, eye contact, that kind of stuff.
You're just looking for that smiley face, aren't you?
Exactly. But also afterwards, you're getting maybe a little bit of kind of positive feedback or just interesting feedback as to how it went. So right away after it, you can kind of, decompress about the whole thing. And then the thought was, with doing this one, I thought, I'm going to do it and I'm not going to know how it's received until after the fact again. So that played on my mind a little after doing the initial 30 minutes. I thought, actually, that was really great because I know it's done. It's done, it's been received, and that's it. Whatever happens after the fact, the people that are in the room, that are the people that you're doing it for.
Well, ultimately, it is a unique thing in that we keep sort of talking about it being an internal training resource that happens to be available online, and getting to do it live in front of pretty much all of the team, including the newest assistants in the brand during the day. That was amazing. And to get them to see it. So that hopefully has highlighted the point of the podcast in the first place to the people that it's ultimately aimed for. But anybody that enjoys it, anybody that receives it, and anybody that, looks at hairdressing in a different angle, having spent time on the podcast, then that's amazing. So did you get a lot of feedback on the night?
Yeah, I mean, instantly. As soon as it was over, I was very much like, oh, was that it? The 30 minutes went really quickly. And then, obviously back to my chair and the whole team. I hadn't even told the team that we were prepping to do that. Brilliant. So they were instantly like, oh my God, like that was our director. And they were really buzzed for the whole thing. They were like, I felt really emotional when you were talking about us and just how, and talk about how passionate you are for your team. It made their wee heart skip a beat.
Brilliant.
But then after the fact, when everyone's had a couple and you're on the dance floor, it really resonated with a lot of people that are stylists that maybe are still mid their journey and trying to figure out where they maybe want to go next. And people were actually coming up to me and saying, you spoke to me. Like, I forgot that there were other people in the room, and the way that you were talking about your journey resonated so much with me that it made me feel like it was me and you having a conversation, and you're so relatable in that way. Whereas I think sometimes when the directors have been directors for a prolonged period of time and then new people come into the company, they've only ever known them as directors. Whereas there's some stylists in the company that, I was a stylist at the same time as, and they've now seen my journey grow and wanted to know maybe what the secrets were to get into where I am now. And the answer to that was just one foot in front of the other, and hard work and keep going,
Well, that answer's such an amazing, or it highlights an amazing point, because obviously there's a certain group of directors did all grow up together. So it is exactly that you're going, well, if they can do it, I can do it, or I want to do what they've done, or, they've inspired me to do that, and we've had that. And then we've had a gap for all the reasons that we've had a gap. But again, that's the reason for the podcast.
Yeah.
Alan was just a wee guy that just stumbled into hairdressing. Linda wanted to be a painter and an artist, but just got a Saturday job. We've all done their story, and hopefully with them watching these podcasts, they realise that that's that part of the journey that Alan and Linda. So you've summed up the whole thing. That's great. That's us. We're finished, William. That was the easiest one yet. Only kidding. So right back to the start.
Oh gosh.
Wispa or Lindo?
Well, I'm going to go Wispa again. I actually had this as my lunch at Congress.
Quite right. No, that's it. Again.
I'm not giving you it back.
It's no. This is the thing. People actually probably think that I just take them back and do for the next one. There's another bag. When I record more than one podcast, there are more than one chocolate bar. William gets his. Well, this is going to be breakfast stroke brunch, I guess, for you. Right. So, as with everybody. Where did it all start? Born and bred?
Yeah, so born in the East End of Glasgow, youngest of 5 kids. Right. Possibly that's what created such a joy in social situations for me, like a 3-bed flat in the East End of Glasgow that 7 people live in. I was obviously the youngest to go to school and was absolutely devastated that when my next sibling went to school, the house was then empty and you didn't then have the social thing. I would be that wee girl at the window as a toddler waiting for siblings coming back from school. Because,
what was the age gap between the last one?
So, it's an interesting one as well. So my mum and dad fell pregnant when they'd been together, not married yet, shotgun wedding, down the aisle, had a girl. Mm-hmm. Done that traditional thing that a lot of people done back in the day was like, oh gosh, we've got to have a boy. Mm-hmm. So tried again really quickly, a year later.
Hilarious.
Had another girl.
Brilliant, yeah. Chasing the genes.
Yeah.
Chasing the genes.
Absolutely, carry on the family name and all that. Gave it a bit of a break. So kind of 9-10 years later, right, let's do it.
Right,
boy,
girl
again. A year later, had their boy.
Right.
Holy Grail, that's them done.
Right.
And a year later, I'm the accident at the end.
Brilliant.
So accident with the first baby, accident with the last baby, and produced the best at the end.
Well, this is it. I'm the baby of 5 as well. And there's 9 years between me and my next brother, and I'm definitely a surprise.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. So you felt an impact, and I completely get where you're going from, because there was probably in the same thing. There was never a quiet moment in the house. It was never quiet. It was never switched off from the minute you woke up to the minute you went to bed. So you kind of almost crave that. That attention, that noise, that excitement.
Stimulation,
exactly.
Isn't it?
Yeah. So, school?
So school, primary school was pretty, fun. I enjoyed it. I definitely felt that I was drawn more towards the creative side of stuff. Like I always remember back then there would be these displays that would be made up different seasons to go up in the kind of dining hall, and if you'd finished your academic part of your work, if you'd finished your math and your English, you got to go and hang out in the paint room and help contribute towards preparing the display that would go up in the hall for the next season. And I always remember rushing that work to get to that point, and then when I would get to that point, it would just be slow motion. Everything would just slow down. I wouldn't hear the noise in the classroom. I wouldn't care if my friends were there or not, which I always thought was, now upon reflection, looking back, I thought the social thing always at school was what I was craving. Yeah. But whenever there was the opportunity to be involved in art or anything creative like that, it was irrelevant whether my friends were there or not. It was just me doing my thing. And I never, ever, ever felt like a judgment of this has to be done a certain way and this has to be right. It was just, if I'm enjoying doing it, it's a win, So primary school, that was pretty simple, local in my area. Enjoyed playtime and all that kind of stuff. So again, the social side of it, but mainly when I look back on it, it was much more the, even at that young age, creative art type stuff. Moving into high school, and I found myself, when you got to the point where you were choosing subjects, I always chose subjects based on what my friends were doing, other than art. And I remember,
it's actually when clients come in and either they're of that age or their parents of kids that age, that still fascinates me, because I kind of had no idea who or what I wanted to be or who I was going to be, and probably found that quite tricky. And I mean, it was a Rolodex. It's an old Rolodex, and you flip through to find out what qualifications you needed for what jobs.
Okay.
And you would just flick through these, what job do you want to do? That way, centre forward for Juventus and Formula One driver for Ferrari weren't in them, and that wasn't going to happen. So I find that sort of fascinating. So and it's really interesting, you going, what were my pals doing?
Yeah,
which
always,
is a shot in the dark, isn't it?
Yep, and I think that it's not until I've become an adult and looked back and reflected and I've recognised that. At the time I never recognised it at all. But I remember getting to S3 where you actually choose your subjects. And before even having a conversation with friends about what they might choose, I was like, right, well, art's on the table for me. And then your best mates, what you choosing? All right, you're choosing history, right? Okay, well, I'll choose history. And I remember unbelievably vividly one of my strongest memories of recognising that you're maybe different, like your friends, you enjoy doing the social things together, but when it comes to choices of activities that you enjoy, I remember it really hitting home with me when me and my best friend walked in the door of history, and I chose history because she chose history, and she sat at the table at the front.
Right.
And I instantly walked to the back, and I'm like, oh no, like space next to me. And she's like, oh no, I won't hear the teacher back there. I was like, I know. I know.
Yeah.
She was like, no, I'm here to learn.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, I've chose it now. I'm in it, do you know? And I'm not going to sit down next to her because I don't really want to learn. So then you're up the back and you're spending time with folk that aren't even really your mates, but you can actually find yourself falling into a cycle of maybe even spending time with people that aren't always the best influence for you, because they're maybe choosing subjects for the same reason as you.
Of course.
But it's just an interesting one that it then can shift those dynamics. So that was a real some people are actually at school because they enjoy education, and I thought that I was at school because I was dead excited for the journey there and the playtime part of it, and then the journey home. For me, that was always the most exciting part.
Because you were told you had to go.
Exactly.
I think, again,
exactly.
Sitting in the middle of spring in 2026, and for as much as people, give education a hard time or put it down or whatever, we've all got our teacher clients, and we've all got that. I mean, I've got a couple of people that are now either semi-retired or actually into trying to steer Scottish education, and I would have dreamt of those people being my teacher back in the day, because they would have totally spotted whatever this was that wasn't conforming to what school was meant to be. But there is an element of should try harder, shut up, obviously. There's like every hairdresser in the world's got that report card of could do really well if they could just stop talking in class. We've all got it, and there's now that meme of every hairdresser on the planet going, look, I've just get paid for talking, that way, whereas I do these complimentary, by the way. But they are out there. Yeah. And the idea that kind of we're sitting there because we have to. Although in saying that, I did history and loved it. So when did you leave? Did you do hires?
So
or did
I
you
was one of these kids that went to primary when I was 4.
Right.
So therefore, when it was S4, and I knew I wasn't staying on. I knew the minute that I got my national insurance card back in the day, you weren't allowed to leave school. No one could hire you unless you actually had your national insurance card. Or so I was led to believe anyway. So I had to enter S5 because school starts back in August. I wasn't 16 until the January.
Right.
So I was like, well, I need to enter S5 and I'm going to need to stay on until I turn 16. My national insurance card will come in and I'll leave school anyway and I'll get a job.
Right.
Because I'm from a family background of like you just work hard, and if you want nice things in life, you've got to work to earn it. So started back school, and then I remember I was looking through the newspaper, as you did back in the day, to doodle on and draw on, and there was an article in the back of it for a hairdressing salon in the city centre that was looking for apprentices. I'm like, where's the harm in phoning? Do you know, I'll just phone and I'll see what they say. So got an interview. Can't remember what day of the week it was, but it was a midweek day because I was at school in the morning, and then lunch break, didn't go back in. Told my last teacher, actually, for the last subject that I had before lunch break, that I was going to a job interview in the afternoon. I might not be back. And they were like, honestly, wish you all the luck in the world. That, like, this is not the place for you. You know, get yourself a job. So made my way into the city centre, went into a salon, and I'm here for the job interview. It so happened to be one of the owners. It was 3 guys that owned the place. It so happened to be one of the owners that was on the reception desk, and he was like, no, not in here. You've not, what's the name of the salon? And I had said, and it was quite a similar sounding salon, and back then you didn't have Google, you couldn't research things. So I was going off the back of, I'm 15 years old, and mainly I've been in town city centre with my mum, trying to, you know, which street might that be? So he's like, I'm really sorry, like, we're not looking for anybody, and the interview isn't here. I turned round to walk away, and the wee kind of fire in my belly where I'm like, no, this is my place. This is where I'm meant to be. I turned round and I was just like, do you want to interview me anyway? Because I'm too late. I've missed my slot. I don't know where the other place is. I don't know how to get there. So I'm going to be getting the bus back up the road. Do you want to interview me anyway? And he laughed. And the minute that he laughed and gave me a smirk, I was like, okay. So took me up the back, gave me an interview, and he was like, start next week. And that's the really interesting thing about hairdressing interviews. A lot of the time, it's quite informal because we're people. Yeah. We really get off on like a bit of a feeling, don't we? Like, and if you think that someone has what it takes to fit in with your culture and really strive to be an exceptional stylist, you will do what you can to create a slot for them, whether it's there or not.
I'm sure any brand, any sort of external company that educates people on how to do job interviews would have an absolute fit if they saw my interviews, because they're not. I actually spend about 50% of the time trying to persuade somebody not to be a hairdresser.
Right, okay.
To actually see how much, you know, they want to do it. But exactly as you say, it's you're working off your gut, and quite frankly nowadays they're that school that they could sit across for you and say any old baloney, and now it's, you know, you're however long you have them in for a trial period to make sure that they're going
really matters.
Exactly. But certainly there have been people that you've just went, oh, you've got to find a space somewhere because this person's got some sort of magic. And the idea that you've went in at that age with that initiative,
my uniform on and everything,
and the
you know,
whole
that way
shebang,
I'm like,
that is,
and I wasn't going to go back to school, you know, so I was like, well, do you know, I kind of back home, you know.
And was it the salon that you definitely applied for? Was it the right one?
That wasn't the right salon.
Right,
it was the wrong salon. I was just like, well, do you know, I don't know where the other one is, so do you want to just interview me anyway? I totally got it wrong. I phoned the wrong salon. There was like an E at the end of this salon, and the other salon had an O at the end of it. Hilarious. So I was just like, that must be where that is. You'd no way to check. I couldn't ask my mum because I wasn't telling her that I was leaving school on my lunch break to go for a job interview. Because it's different if you're coming home and you're like, here's my plan, this is what's happening, versus, I think I might leave school midday to go to a job interview. She might also want to get involved. And I don't know if you remember when we were doing the kind of the podcast live, part of what I was explaining about the way that I tend to function is just like, I want to do my thing, figure out if it's right or wrong once I've decided what I'm doing.
Well, on that question, had hairdressing came into you before you'd seen the article?
Never. So I was so me and my mates, anybody that was ever going on like any kind of night out, you know, you're doing your hair and makeup back in the day. I mean, it wasn't as bougie as what it is now. But always I found my friends would be like, will you do my hair for me for this night out? Right. Now, I mean, I'm going back to a period of time where it was like really gelled twists.
Right, all right.
With butterfly clasps and you know, clasps and glitter spray.
Right, okay.
You know, like we're not talking the
glitter spray still gives me the
glam that you have nowadays. We're really going back to a whole different period of time. A lot of like diffusing and gelling perms and all that kind of stuff.
Going on,
So my mates and again at that point I never really thought anything of it. I just again thought this is a great social thing. It's like a nice vibe in your bedroom before you go for a night out if you've got your mates in there hanging out. So again, upon reflection, I look back and I go, I wonder if they seen something in me that I didn't see in me, whether it was that I made them feel comfortable and enjoyed the experience themselves, because I don't know that I would have been any better than them at really doing their own hair, you know, so I put it down to more the experience of just like having a nice time together. And then I kind of, I don't know where I got the idea from that you don't need a national insurance number to get an apprenticeship job. It was just in my head that, I don't know, they might be a bit casual about that. They might not really ask. I actually thought it was quite a safe industry to like fly into under the radar. And they might never really find out. And by the time they do, I'll be 16 potentially anyway, you know.
Then it was. Then I'm sure it was fine.
Yeah, that was literally it. It was like, I think I could get a job here. And instantly, like, I know a lot of people say it instantly, as I say, when I walked in the door for just the interview, and the feeling that I had inside when he was like, no, your interview's not here. And the minute that I turned around to get ready to walk out, I was a bit like, no, this is my place. This is where and I don't know why that was, because, again, I don't know that I'd ever been and had any fantastic hairdressing experiences myself in my life where I felt like it was a totally joyous environment to be. But there was just something about that particular moment that I was like, no, this is for me.
It was always my mum's priority.
Yeah.
So, you know, she, like most mums at the time, everything else was for everybody else, whether it was dad or her kids. But because my dad was one of these guys where we're going here now, the one thing that was like her suit of armour would have been her hair had to be done. So she'd always go to good hairdressers, and I would always, the big head of curly hair, so I would just get my hair cut with her. So the idea of it helping somebody and being really important to somebody and feeling better was always in my head. I'd always understood that, and that must have subliminally been working, because again, like yourself, there was no inclination to it whatsoever, except at school there was a guy went to do a apprenticeship at Kramer's at 4th year. I was going to do 5th year, and I'm like going, God, hairdressing, that'd be cool. And I would started going to David at 15 by that point. So the kind of that atmosphere, and it was, you know, you just look over and David and John were just the two coolest human beings you'd ever seen in your life, and they were just surrounded by all these beautiful girls, and they were just cool. The whole thing was just, it was cool. So that was obviously working away, but a bit like yourself. My moment, it was the all-week induction rather than Linda. So you were in the basement in 15 from Tuesday to Thursday, day off on a Friday, and then you get assigned to your salon on the Saturday. And Alan was swearing on stage at induction. Wow. So you knowing me, me like a choice part of language. But for me, it was just, it was instantly believable. Yeah. Guy's telling me the truth because he's swearing away like a trooper, right? Yeah. I'm like, oh, I'm in. So he'd already hooked me. And then I got to work in Buchanan Street because I was a client in 15. And I can vividly remember standing where the coffee machine still is, actually, and being up there. And I must have been either filling the cups or filling the coffee jugs or something like that, and just turning around and going, oh, I'm doing this forever. Wow. Because it was just, the place vibrated with an energy, and the people that were there, and just the force of nature. Now, rewind back 20 years, and it was a bit like being a wee, well, not 20 years at that point, like 10 years, like being a wee boy in the Chippy. Yeah. Chippies at the Glasgow Crossing, it was a war zone. Yeah. Constantly. From 9 o'clock in the morning to 2 in the morning, it was a war zone. And then so was my house. So I think all those three things related together, but I can certainly understand where you're coming from, the idea that, you know, you knew that was your thing, but nowhere near as quick as not even had your interview and being in the wrong building. Yeah. That's amazing. So was it Saturday work?
No, full time. No, I was like, I'm leaving school. If you'll have me full time, I'll be here full time. And then for me, it was enjoying something that none of my friends were doing. They were all staying on at school, and it didn't even bother me. Yeah. I wasn't like, you know, is this the right path? I didn't second guess it. I just had made the decision. This is what's happening. This is what I'm doing. A massive factor for me was to earn money, because I wanted to go out and socialise Friday night, Saturday night. As a 15-year-old, you were going to the overs, we called it back then. So like your mum wasn't giving you money to do that, because again, you were saying you were staying at a friend's house overnight, and you were sneaking outfits into your bag, and you were saving up your lunch money at school. so that you could then get into these places at the weekends.
Oh, brilliant.
So all of a sudden I was then right, okay, I'm earning, right, okay, so I could go out on a Friday night, Saturday night, I could probably go out on a Thursday night as well. Now
Right.
I've got the money to do that. So that was like the
And
motivation.
the energy more important.
And then you're getting your hair done.
Aye.
So you're like win-win. So that was a huge motivating factor for me to be able to do that. So instantly from day dot, I was like in a place that I felt I belonged and massive potential to earn money. That was the two factors for me. So yeah, I just flew from there in regards to enjoying the environment so much that I stopped going out, because that I was earning the money to go and socialise on the nights out, and then at the end of a Saturday I was like, my social battery's full. Not exhausted, I'm done in, I don't want to go out. It was, I feel quite satisfied. I'm quite happy to have a night in. So I actually found myself pulling away from the socialising, because I'm like, I want to be fresh for work. You know, when we've got these clients coming in and you're engaging with them and you're hearing their stories, it was also a period of time, I think it's a wee bit different now, but it was a period of time where a lot more regular clients were in for daily, well, every day, but weekly style drives. So you had like a real relationship that you were building with them, and I looked forward to seeing the clients more than I was looking forward to the nights out.
That's a brilliant way of putting it, and the idea that your social battery was full, not exhausted, which is really interesting, because people. So normally, if you've got a partner that's not a hairdresser, or people come into your life that aren't hairdressers, don't understand that. But it's not that you're tired or you're knackered or you don't want to be, it's the fact that I've had my social fill and it's been great. And again, we could argue that, and it always comes out on all these different charts and surveys that hairdressing's one of the most enjoyable careers to have. So not only do I get to do something that I love, I like to do it, try to do it to the best of our ability, but also I get this kind of social backup as well. But the idea of it being that your battery's full, not empty, is it's an absolute.
No,
that's
sure.
a T-shirt. You should merch that. That's a belter. So how long was your training period? Was it a formal? Was it like an apprenticeship, or was it loose?
It wasn't an apprenticeship at that point, because things weren't as formal as what they are now. Things were, there was conversations happening in the industry about, level 2, level 3 qualifications, and that at some point that bit of paper was going to become really important. And the salon I was in, they'd done weekly night classes. They really heavily trained you in colour. Because they operated like they had employed stylists who done cuts and colours, and then they had self-employed stylists who only cut, but they used the salon's colour technicians to do their colours. So it was quite a unique, and again, I didn't know that there was anything any different at that point, but what they'd done is, you were a trainee coming through, is they really quickly wanted you colouring, because if you coloured, you got to then have a column where you done the colours for the self-employed stylists. And again, I just seen that as being something additionally creative that I got to do. I got to spend more time with the clients. So instead of shampooing them for 10 minutes, taking them back to the chair, I was with them for an hour, doing the colour, learning to run what you were doing as a colour technician in line with the stylist's column. You had to learn to be really efficient, because they needed that client back when they needed it back, regardless of what kind of colour work you were planning on doing. And then at the end of the week, I didn't realise this, at the end of the week, my pay packet was heavier. So you were actually being paid more for doing more technical work, but still you were an assistant / they would have called it a colour technician. They gave you a column as a colour technician. You also got to do style drives as well. But again, I had mentioned before, you only got to become a full hairdresser when someone left. And therefore there was a slot available. So at that point I fell pregnant with my daughter, and decided that maybe the paperwork would become important. If I'm going to be looking to be a real adult now, this is at like 17 years old,
and when
baby in hand,
Has it happened yet? You became a real adult yet?
No, more often than not these days, I'm saying I'm just not adult enough for this. And this is personal stuff as well. This is like, 100%. Who gave me like the wand to make that decision? I don't want it. I don't want to make that decision. When I was younger, life was very black and white. You knew, that what your thoughts were just accurate because you didn't have to concern yourself with the bigger picture. Yeah. The older you get, the bigger picture becomes your picture, and everything's really grey and fuzzy, and you're always trying to like figure out what the best thing is to do. So that makes things a wee bit more complicated. But I certainly felt that I'd instantly, again, pin dropped. Spending more time with clients, which is what I'm enjoying doing, and I'm getting paid more money for it. So decided that probably staying in that salon I wasn't going to see the potential to develop into a stylist that quickly, because they'd really long-term stylists that they'd had there for a long time. From the eyes that I saw it through, everybody seemed really happy, really busy. The salon was really full. So it was probably a shock to them that I wanted to leave. But I just always had this, if they ever didn't want to promote me or if they wanted to let me go, I would have nothing. So take control of the situation yourself. You make the decision, take the control of the situation. The Rainbow Room, Crow Road had just opened up round the corner from where I was living with my mother and father-in-law, my husband now, not at the time, his sister and our baby. And I was like, that would be really convenient because I can walk. So in terms of getting the wee one to nursery and things like that, that's quite practical rather than heading into the city centre. Knowing the brand for what it was, all about education. And I thought they'll, if I show them what I can do, they'll be able to nurture me in the way that I now need to move on to that next level, and importantly get the formal qualification at the end of it. Got myself an interview, so that was great. Went in on my day off, and it was Siobhan back then. So Siobhan was managing the salon, and went in for my interview. And even back then though, the conversation, when I look back now, I'm like, it was perfectly acceptable as far as I was concerned for her to be like, what's your childcare plan? Like, how is this going to work for you? And having that conversation, I actually felt was really important for me to understand what was necessary to do the job. There's a lot of conversations that we can't have nowadays because it's not the done thing, and it's not PC, and it's not appropriate. And I get that, because you would never want to be deemed to be making decisions to discriminate anyone, and I totally understand that. But by me being in that environment and being asked these questions, it made me go, right, I now need to put things in place to guarantee that I can make that happen. Got the job, and started the next week. And I remember when I went into the salon that I had been working in, and telling the staff that this is my last day and I'm not going to be here anymore, one stylist was like, you're going to the right place. You're doing the right thing. She had a partner at the time that worked in the industry, was a rep for a colour brand, and she really knew a lot about Rainbow Room and what it had to offer, and she was like, this is going to make you. And that was the first person I told. And it just gave me this like wee elevated, felt really positive. And then I told someone else, and they were like, you're ruining this. You're ruining it. That's not where you should be. You should be here with us. And instantly I thought it was really interesting, because I thought, you didn't need to. I'm going. I've got the job. Do you know? And I thought, that's interesting. And I think it actually showed a side to how you can, maybe you think that everyone in your circle is rooting for you regardless of what decisions you make, but then all of a sudden you can become very much like, actually it works well for you, for me to be here.
Well, that's
You're
what I was going to say.
You're not thinking about me, my baby, and I understand that's
even
not
in
your
a positive, negative thing,
that.
And they like you and they like your energy, and you think, oh, you're breaking the band up. There could be an element of that. Do you think as well, you're obviously, your early years are growing up in a place that's maybe not quite got such a clear structure, whereas obviously you come for your interview, you get shown that this could be your career, this is what you could go through. Did that feel good? Because obviously, you're looking at a place where you go, well, I don't know when I'm going to be a stylist, as opposed to, well, if you do A, B, and C, you'll be a stylist, and then if you do C, D, and E, you're going to be a senior stylist, and
Not really initially, because I didn't really see it as a a career. I knew I was going to be doing it forever, but my psychology was it's a job.
Yeah.
Nobody in my family, I didn't know anybody that had a career.
Right.
My mum worked in a hotel. My dad was a labourer, scaffolder, in and out of jobs, would turn his hand to whatever job he would be able to get his hands on. And it never dawned on me that there could be real benefits in this being a career and a ladder. Never seen it that way at all.
Right.
And I understand that maybe doesn't make sense, because of course I want to be cutting hair and I want to be doing these things, but it never crossed my mind in the initial couple of years that there was like a real formal structure working your way up.
It was never sold to anybody like that, though. It's not as if you were really, even at that point, there was no television celebrity hairdressers.
No.
The most people on the street, if you asked them about haircuts, it would be, I know a Sassoon, and that would be it. Older people would talk about Teasy Weezy, and if you live in the city centre of Glasgow, at that point probably they'd remember Das Haar, because 1 minute there wasn't any, and then the next minute there was a million salons, and then there wasn't any, and that was it. But unless you were really either into it or went to any of the places or really knew what you were talking about, it was never talked about.
No.
Practically as a job, never mind a career. It's certainly not a positive light.
Yeah.
I would presume. So you start. Now, for those of you that have watched the live podcast, you already know this part of the story, but this is brilliant. I think this kind of slightly sums you up a wee bit as well.
Oh, really?
But do you want to tell everybody your first day?
So first day, again, I'm all dead excited. I've just come from a city centre salon, and I'm like, right, this is Rainbow Room, this is the place to be. And I walk in the front door, and it was a really quiet Tuesday, and it was me and two other assistants and the receptionist that was in. There wasn't any other stylists or anything in at that point. And it was really quiet, and there was I was also very aware that this is important to me. I have a baby and I've left a job to do this, and I'm hoping to, in the next few months / years get myself a mortgage and really, set the next chapter of my life up. And I found myself kind of like making foil with two girls who were the same age as me, but just less. I'm not going to say I was mature, but I had a pressure. Like I knew that there was, things that I was planning on doing, and the conversations that we were having were so minuscule in comparison to where my brain was at. For that being my first day in a new job. And as I say, there was no stylist in, so there was no energy. The salon was like flat. The music was reasonably low, probably because it was a quiet Tuesday morning. There wasn't anybody in. Got the opportunity to go on my first break, and I didn't come back.
Right.
I walked straight home, and I went home, and as I say, before my husband had taken the day off his job as an apprentice plumber to look after our baby so I could do my first day. And he was like, "What are you doing? Like, what do you mean it was just a wee bit quiet? Is that not an easier day then? Like, settle in?" And I was like, "No, I can't go back. It's not got the city centre buzz. There's no hive of activity." And then I thought, actually, have I made a mistake? Did I jump the gun? But thought I wasn't. I was too proud to pick up the phone and make the phone call. So the next day I got a phone call from John.
Right.
And I think he maybe thought that there was going to be more of a drama maybe of what had happened, because he's maybe playing things in his head.
Which we all do now.
Yeah, exactly. What happened there, she seemed really keen. She had a bit of experience. She, this was going to be the next chapter of her life. Like, what happened there? So I was very lucky that John picked up the phone and was like, "What happened?" And I couldn't say I didn't think that the environment was exciting enough for me. So I made up a wee lie, and I was like, I went out on my morning break, and I realised time had got the better of me. I was too late coming back, and I went over my 15-minute marker, and I just thought I didn't want to come back late on my first day. So I just thought, they're not going to receive that well, I'll just not go back. So he was like, "No, listen, behave yourself. We all have wee blips, we all make wee mistakes. Come back in tomorrow." And honestly, I walked in that salon the next day, and it was like a different world.
It was on.
All the stylists were back in the salon. Lo and behold, to me, I'm the new assistant. I didn't get told that the stylists were all on a really exciting course. So they came back in the next day and they were all fully booked because they hadn't been in the day before.
Of course.
Totally buzzing with energy of all these new techniques and things that they were going to try on their clients. Were dead excited to see me and instantly were like, oh, you were here yesterday? So they already seen me as being like, oh yeah, you're one of us. You're in the building. You're part of the team from the get-go. We need you. So instantly I felt welcome, and like the day before hadn't even really happened, and we just kick-started and moved on from there. So yeah, if I hadn't been given the opportunity, I don't know what that might have meant for my career in hairdressing, but because, you know, Rainbow Room was the place to be for your qualification and stuff at that point in education.
It's like sliding door moments. It's just mental. So did you have to go back in and start at level 2?
Yeah, because I didn't have any paperwork. So the conversation was, bear in mind I've got a baby, and I only took 12 weeks off, 2 weeks before I had her, 10 weeks after. Because again, I'm like, where's my social? I love being with my baby, and this is like a great new addition to my life, but I'm also on my own 5 days a week when my partner's at work. And I'm so young, I need to be earning, and I need to be you know, setting things up for the next chapter of our life. So 2 weeks off before, 10 weeks off after, and the plan was that when I started with Rainbow Room that I would be 5 days a week while I was going through my apprenticeship, because it's really difficult to develop the skills if you're not in there every day. So 5 days a week, full time, go through your level 2 at that point. Level 3 wasn't a mandatory thing back then either. It was level 2, and then you're on the floor as a fully qualified hairdresser. And then once you qualify, the conversation was you can go part-time until, well, this was my request, can I go part-time until she then starts school, because I am aware that I've got a young baby and I'm working 5 days a week and doing the coming in early and staying back late and going to help out at weddings and events on my days off and things like that. And in my head I was like, right, that's going to take up a bit of this time that you never get back. But the flip side of that is when she's then 1.5, 2, I'll be a stylist and I'll be able to go part-time till she starts school. Then when she starts school, that I'll back in full time. That was the plan, and that was what we done.
Good. So, and did you have to go back and do Fame Academy or anything like that?
Oh my goodness, Fame Academy, yeah. So back when I qualified, it was when you've completed your level 2, you were in the training academy for 3 months, 5 days a week doing your training. Then you went up to Fame for another 3 months. But prior to even going in, you had to, or was it getting out of Fame? Getting out of Fame, you had to do your models. That was what it was. So you had to do your 5 models on the day, and it was a perm, it was a gents cut and colour, a ladies cut and colour, a fashion cut and colour, and a hair up. And you had to do all them on the day. And I remember trying to source the models. I mean, it was one of the most stressful days of my life. We were in this, because I'm like, timing-wise, it has to all be my work. Obviously, you can't pull an assistant in to help you because you're trying to showcase your work. So I was in the salon at 7 o'clock in the morning, starting my perm. I'm like, if I get my perm in, she can sit in a corner, can leave her for the rest of the day. Get my gent, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm like, you just need to be with me for the day. I can't have you going anywhere and your hair getting disrupted. So I'm going to need to make sure that you can dedicate a whole day to that for me. Then we transport everybody in cars into the city centre up to Fame. You're up at Fame at 5 o'clock at night, and all the directors appear like absolute gods, like looking immaculate, got this real like camaraderie together of like this club of people that you're trying to impress. And there's a real weight on your shoulders of, and you had to walk all the directors around every model that you'd done and explain to them the full cut and colour, right down to the angles that you used, the colours that you used, the ratios. You had everything prepared, but then you always knew that somebody was going to throw you a curveball and ask you a question that you just might not be prepared for. And you go around every model. Then all the directors went into the Fame Academy staff room and deliberated, and then your own director pulled you into the staff room to give you the verdict on whether you were getting out of Fame or not and back to your salon as a qualified stylist. And I remember unbelievably vividly standing out in the salon waiting, because I've done the whole thing. Yous are in the staff room deliberating, and yous all come walking out one after the other. And I'm walking past your single file into the staff room where my director is, and I get to you and you wink.
Right.
And do you know what that done for me instantly? Like, it calmed me.
Yeah.
But it also made me feel like part of the club.
Yeah.
It made me feel like...
I always remember...
I don't know if you remember that.
No, I would always want to be on the person's side. Now, I get labelled a bit as the soft touch when it comes to the directors and all that, and it's not that, because I would hope my standards were the same. I'm harder on myself than I am on any other person on planet Earth, so it's a different and unique way that I see that. But I would hate to see anybody uncomfortable. That makes me instantly, even thinking about it now, even you going through what you had to do that day and what you had to present, and you just think, what a chunk of work that was. And because it was the norm, we all took it for granted. Well, that's what we do, and that's why the standards are what they are. And listening to this and talking to you about it, and the mind movie in my head is, do we have to reinstate some sort of version of this for all the reasons that we should do? Because it ended up a photographic thing at one point. It all got watered down. But that exactly sounds like me, because I would want you going in there to enjoy it and for you to remember it. You know, that way, because that's going to be that point where, I've done this. Yeah. I've done this. I've achieved that. And getting that 4 more seconds in your brain to open up would be exactly the kind of thing that looks like me and sounds like me. Although Jackie always says that I threw her the horrible curveball question when she was doing a promotion.
Oh, really?
Because it was the same thing. You had to do the same thing for promotions, and she was getting one of her usual triple super duper amazing promotions, and she went, always remember, like, you asked me a really annoying question, and I went, well, that was me probably just trying to show off, because obviously I was besotted by her and all that, you know. So that, I was trying to be cool. Whereas with that, I would have been, I'd have been in your shoes, and I would have hopefully known where you were at, and just wanted you that 5 more seconds of brain
I mean, you clearly seen it in me, whatever it was. You clearly seen this wee girl needs a wee nudge. You know, she needs a wee, it's going to be all right. You know, it's going to be all right. And it's certainly done that for me. That walking past everybody thing, that's no different when we qualified, and we'd cut in the 5th section of Buchanan Street, and you'd have to walk past all of these hairdressers with your client. And then eventually past Alan, Linda Berdetti, and Pam, and, you know, all that crew, and then go to reception. And even that walk was just, and so that's the reverse for me. How I think you're feeling at that point, and where in my head, I'm thinking, just, you know, if Tommy McMillan or, you know, Joanna Cree at the time gave you a wink and a wee nod as if to say, good haircut and all that, you know, you'd get a reception and you'd hand the bill over your shoulders. So it would be the same thing. And if the pressure isn't put on your shoulders, you don't get that positive feeling at the other end of it. And I understand that nowadays we try and be really kind, and we try and be really positive and mindful of people's feelings when we're training them and all that kind of stuff, and it's really, really important to get them on side in that way. But it's also really important to get them to understand that hard work's noticed and it pays off, and you want the good feeling. That's what you're chasing. You're not necessarily, because it's such a subjective industry, isn't it? Like, if you think that you're showcasing really high standard work and you get that feeling off the back of it that gives you that's what matters, you know, and your peers and the people round about you acknowledging that and recognising that, I think is one of the unique things about Rainbow Room and what it has to offer. And I think that's why it's really important for, like, us just having Congress there. The amount of conversations and comments that people had off the back of Congress where they were like, directors that didn't even know me came up and congratulated me for the award I won. I feel like a celebrity. Do you know what? They know my name. Do you know that Ricardo knows my name? And I'm like, of course. I know he knows your name, but you're not in each other's company often enough with experiences that make you recognise that you are part of something bigger, and you are part of that club, and you're part of that culture that you all talk about from years gone by. You have got all those memories of the events that you went to and the road trips that you had and all of that. They don't have that.
No.
So when we have these events like Congress, all of a sudden they feel they've got a story to tell the assistants. They're part of something bigger than the salon that they work in.
I'm glad to get it back to, it was
for sure.
It's been a wee, we had to try something different and acknowledge that it worked for what it needed to be.
Yeah.
But if anything highlighted the fact that it wasn't what we were about and what we were trying to achieve.
Yeah,
that night did. Although I never got back away from the bar after. I never saw the
band.
band.
That says more about you, Ricardo.
I don't know. It's just it could end up. It was like an amazing wedding. I basically just spent talking to all my cousins at the bar for the whole time. So your journey then from stylist, because you went stylist and you went educator and a bit of management and all that kind of stuff in that time. What was your timeline with all of them?
So, stylist in the salon. The salon was like unbelievably busy, super busy, high energy, loads of really creative stylists in the salon at that period of time. And everybody, the conversation was always like promotion, double promotion. Yeah. Like a promotion wasn't just like what you were aiming for. If someone had done a double, you were like, well, could I do a double? Yeah. So instantly it was straight into that. It was straight into being super busy in the salon, building your column and developing in that way. And I remember Patrick used to work with us. Mm-hmm. He was a really super talented, really, 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 geometric hairdresser. His head sheets were just like second to none. Right. And I loved working with him because I felt that you could learn a lot. Because he would sit you back and he would draw head sheets for you, and he would really explain, visually and get you doing the hands-on stuff. And just talking about promotions there, I remember he was part of the team a few years later that was judging the promotions and the portfolios. And I remember getting a one-on-one with him when I was going for a promotion, and I remember being like dead excited to show him my work, my figures, what I had achieved in the year, and also the quality of my because you also had to have then your before and after images of your models, but a head sheet next to it, drawn exactly, how you went about achieving that look. And I remember thinking, I'm so smug, he's going to see bits of his work and what I've done here.
That reflect through.
And I remember we're having this conversation and I'm all ready for it. And he's like, do you know, you were my most challenging assistant.
Wow.
And I was shocked.
Yeah.
But being the upfront person that I am, I was like, why?
Why, cause?
Right, so remember I've just said why, right? I'm like, why? And he's like, you challenged everything I taught you. You didn't believe anything I taught you, so you always second guessed me. And I actually was like, oh my God, no. I wanted to know what was going on in your brain. I wanted to understand why you made that decision. Yeah. I knew you were technically capable. I mean, I'm the assistant and you are this like real high level, really technical hairdresser. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to know everything that was in, not just what you were doing, but why you were doing it.
Got you. Yeah.
I couldn't believe like how there can be such a contrast of the same experience, two people in the same room having the same situation, but they're taking it totally differently. Wow. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. Mm-hmm. So going back to the, like, why? Like, I literally done it right in that conversation. It's like, why? What do you mean? So yeah, that I loved that. I loved and that was when I started to see the career progression. That was when I really started to see the development, going on the courses. I mean, one of my most favourite courses that I ever went on that blew my mind was the Alan Austin Smith course. Yeah. I think I'd only been qualified a couple of months. Wow. And I went on that course. Yeah. And again, going on it with my salon and my team, but like wanting to sit separate because I didn't want to be influenced by how anyone else took the course.
Amazing.
I wanted it to totally be, not that I'm not a team player, but like when I'm trying to absorb what's this meant to mean to me, what am I meant to take away from this?
So isn't that interesting that you ended up as the girl in the front of the history class and not the girl at the back of the history class?
Oh, there you go. Look at that callback.
Once it's the thing that is your, like everybody, until you want it, you don't see it. Yeah. Till somebody mentions a red car, you don't see red cars. What you put your focus on is what you get your result in. Yeah. And the idea to reaffirm the fact that you're in the right place at the right time for the right reasons is there you are.
Yeah.
You now don't want influenced by the person that's sitting beside you because you realise the power of what you're about to learn or what you're about to experience, and you want 100% of that as opposed to sharing's the wrong word, but diluting it with what's going on around you. That's fascinating, and it's amazing. As one of the things comes up at the podcast, there's a complete circle, and everybody's, especially their first part of their story, where they'll always end up. It's a bit like Alan with counting the figures, all month, so that in the last day he only had to do a wee bit, and then you think about him bringing out the figures book to stop us from all turning up at all these meetings, having done the figures. There's always that wee circle. That's as soon as you said it, my brain's like, boom, that's amazing. So, and then that mind, and you being analytic towards the way that he was teaching you, surely springboarded yourself into wanting to be a teacher.
Yeah, because I was like, if I can also pass that information on to someone else, and they can take a little bit of that additionally, but also, I mean, for me, teaching it can be quite a selfish thing as well. Like, the more I'm teaching you, the more it's reaffirming what I'm meant to know. So like, yes, I'm passing on the information and knowledge I have, but it's a benefit to me
100%.
as a hairdresser as well,
100%.
because also I'm also maybe picking up that there's actually I'm overcomplicating that. They've just really found a simple way to do that. Why am I overcomplicating that thing? So worked through my promotions for a period of time, and then the academy was looking for assessors, and this was after the academy had moved into the facility that it's in now, because I trained in the wee shoebox next door. So they were looking for assessors, but you needed to have your level 3, so I done my level 3 on my day off.
Wow.
So I done my level 3 on my day off, because you needed to have that to then do, I think it's your A1. So then after that, done my A1 again on my day off. So doing 6 days a week while I was, doing my clients in the salon, and then the additional training, which I just felt was like only benefiting me. So why wouldn't that? And also when you're developing and you're going through promotions, I didn't want to take any time out of being in the salon and have any of your clients not be able to. Yeah,
you don't want to stop that momentum.
Exactly, because you're still developing with that and you're still progressing with that. So had my qualification for that, and was lucky enough to get a position right away in the academy on a Wednesday, which then became my academy day forever. And then Siobhan left Crow Road, and John was looking to figure out his kind of management situation in Crow Road, and Julianne was doing the kind of full-time management, and I was assisting her in the managing role. So I was getting to do a bit of that as well. So I really it developed a lot of the skills and understanding of the why. These are the decisions that are made today, but then why does it have to be that way? Oh, you understand it, right? Okay, you can put that to bed and move on, and now your brain's going, but why that? Your brain's just always like focusing on the task at hand, and then like when you can do that with your eyes shut, you're then going, oh, what else can I see that could be something that could be enhanced or developed, or I really want to understand the reason for that. And then work through the kind of management role there as well, and ran that alongside working in the academy. And then every now and then I would go, right, I've got a bit extra gas in the tank this year, or I feel a wee bit stagnant this year, or I'm looking for something a wee bit more exciting. And then I would go, right, okay, and write it down in my goals for the year, and we'll do the art team for a year.
Right.
And I would dip in and out of that, and I would give myself a year of whatever happens this year that's art team related, I'll get involved with that.
Good.
But I would never commit to it being like this is now another avenue that I'm going down permanently, because it's, I mean, the guys, hats off to them, it's such an incredible job that they do, and such a lot of work and time and effort and energy, and it can really eat into your personal time and your salon time, and there's so many dates that come along last minute. It's a beast, isn't it?
It's an iceberg. You
Yeah,
only
it
ever
really
really,
is.
you see that fabulous bit at the top, and that must be really unbelievably exciting, and that's great. And there's all this work and preparation and sweat and toil that's went to get to do that little bit, and you have to be quite unique and special to be able to justify all of that work for that little bit, because it's probably not rewarding enough for the normal person, for the amount of effort that gets put in. Whereas if you put that same amount of effort into your column, wow, you're probably going to see a huge amount of work. That same amount of effort that you put into doing your level 3 and your A1, there's a bit of paper that I've done that and now you can use that to do that. Our team's not necessarily like that, but yet again, for everybody that's watched all of their journeys, we've all done it.
Yeah.
We've all dipped in, even for people that really it wasn't for them.
Yeah.
They still understood that they had to have that point of going, I'm on a limb here, and I'm stepping outside my comfort zone. Or the ones that really enjoyed it and can completely fly with it as well. I think that that's amazing, and you know the idea that again, you're future proofing yourself.
Yeah.
Because tick, I've done it.
And your clients as well, like they maybe don't want the asymmetric, razored, blue roots, pink ends. They maybe don't necessarily want that, but they kind of want to know you know how to do it. Yeah. And whenever your clients are coming back in for the next visit and you're asking them what's going on in their life in the last 6 weeks since they've been in, and then they're asking you, I don't think that we emphasise enough the additional stuff that we do that's hairdressing and career and work related that's made us a better hairdresser than what we were 6 weeks ago when they were last in. 100%. We take it all for granted.
100%.
It's one of the reasons that actually we're getting quite excited, like working with our Instagram and stuff like that just now, because we're aware that a 6 week visit has become a bit of a 12-week visit. But how can we still engage with our clients in a way where when it's 12 weeks later we forgot those things that we've done because we are now in this week. I mean, hairdressers, we work on a week by week basis, don't we? So this week I forgot what happened 6 weeks ago, but because it's out there on our social media, clients are coming in 12 weeks after their last visit and they're like, oh, by the way, that video of your staff day out or that photo shoot that you were involved in or whatever the thing is, they're like, that was really amazing. Huge. So the fact that you're able to keep that relationship and connection going between visits while visits are that wee bit longer.
And certainly as a salon owner now as well, you've got to that's helping the price.
Yeah.
The sort of value is in the detail. Yeah. And the more detail we can get into that, and it's like, well, it's not just a haircut and it's not just a visit and this isn't just a salon. Yeah. And getting rid of all of those barriers is really unique. So to sum up your first part, because we're coming to the end of your first part and we've still got millions to go through, quite frankly, but where I want to end is, what was the spark that then made you decide, I want to do this for myself? I want to have my own franchise.
I mean, I don't know that I would say that there was necessarily a spark, because it was something that came and went always throughout my career, and I kind of, once I'd been through all my promotions and stuff, it was something that I always dabbled in, thinking. So I wouldn't say that there was like a eureka moment, or that it was quite a kind of controlled, slow burning process of I'm aware of this and I'm aware of that, and I know that that's why that's done and I know that's why that's done, but maybe I would do it differently, or maybe I would plan that differently, or maybe I would work that a wee bit differently. So it was more of a process of, what do I have to offer the brand and the industry that would be a hub to have my own people to help. I suppose everything that I've gone through, the creative aspect of it and the management and the educational side of it, you're doing all of that but under someone else's roof. Yeah. And I think I felt that I could really put that all into place for the next generation coming through. Yeah. And that's been a massive, massive experience for me. Yeah. And then my daughter came into the industry as well. So that, I think, seeing how she was also progressing, I mean, I had already made the decision before that, but seeing how she was progressing, I really got the at-home conversation as a mum. What's this like for an apprentice nowadays? And in the salon, no, this is what I expect of you.
That's unique. That is unique.
So that was an interesting one as well. And I think I've always really, I mean, even when my daughter and my husband would come into the salon for haircuts, they wouldn't come in and be like, oh, hi, mum. Or I'd be like, no, they go to reception. They say, I've got an appointment with Tara. They get sat in a seat. Yeah. Like, I'm at work. Yeah. So very much, it was very easy for me then when it was, Becca coming in to work with us, that it was a really kind of formal, you know, professional relationship. And then we had to establish the on the way home, we can talk about work in the car. After that, not so much. And you can talk as a, you're talking to your mum, you're not talking to your boss. The gripes, the vents, the things you're dedicated. Because I wouldn't even let her talk about things that she was really proud of herself for, because I'd be like, I seen it. I was there. Do you know, like, I know you've done really well at that because I seen it. And actually, I had to recognise that she's talking to me as a mum and she's just, you know, venting positively or negatively about her day, and I have to create a space for that.
You've got to,
so that was something that was an additional thing at the time, because that was all happening round about the same time.
Well, just something else to add to it.
Not planned that way. It just all kind of fell into place that way, but it certainly gave me another, okay, what is it like for apprentices nowadays? And we are very much an industry where we always look back with these like romantic eyes of how amazing it used to be and how it's no longer that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what could I personally do differently to help
100%.
to help create that? So that definitely helped, like nailing the coffin for sure.
Right. Well, at that point then, because obviously your second part is going to be about that whole thing that you've now started to create. So this is a perfect time to finish part 1, and we'll get ready for part 2. But thank you.
No, thank you.